Welcome everybody, this is Jason and the name of this week's workshop is Repo Man. It's basically about the repositorying technique or repoing, and this only applies to objects, not to clothes. There's a different technique for that, so let's have a look. What is the repository technique? The repository technique is a technique used by TS2 creators to optimize content. The TXTR is by far the most system-intensive resource, and more textures means longer loading time and more texture memory used. The repository technique shares a single TXTR among multiple packages. How does it work in objects? In objects, one package, designated the master or parent object, contains all of the TXTR. The slave or child objects reference the CRES and SHPE of the parent object and thus don't need their own TXMT and TXTR. The SimPe method. Start with the parent object, select the SHPE in the resource tree and again in the resource list. Pop open your trusty notepad and then copy the name of each subset and the material that it references onto the notepad as I've shown here. Then we open the repo object. We replace the GMDC as you normally would. And in this case, we would, if we're making a standalone object, we would also need to update the GUID in the OBJD. Then we select the SHPE in the resource tree and again in the resource list. Now we simply change the subset name and the TXMT names to correspond to the subset and the TXMT of the parent object like so. Commit and save your changes. Next, we select the TXTR in the resource tree and then shift select all of the TXTR in the list, right click and delete. Then we repeat this with the TXMT, we commit and we save. The reason that we're doing this, it's no longer being referenced. We don't need these because the SHPE is now referencing the parent object's TXMT. Then we select the GMND in the resource tree and again in the resource list. We go to the Edit Blocks tab and the object that I chose to clone specifically is the Maxis Apple sculpture. I use this because it's not designable. So this is also a neat technique to learn. We're making it designable and then we're having it reference the recolors, the GID of the parent object. Then in the drop-down on the Edit Blocks tab, we select C data list extension in parentheses. Then we click that Add button twice. We're adding 2 blocks to our object. We return to the Content tab and then we go to the Object Graph Node subtab. We need to enable these 2 blocks. So what we do, we click the Add button twice. Then we select the first of the lines that we added. And because the last one in the list was 6, we need to make this one 7. And then we change the enabled to 0, 1. We do the same thing for the last line. We make that 8 and 0, 1 to enable it. Then in the block list dropdown, we select the first block that we created, C data list extension. We change the name of that block to TS design mode enabled in the plugin. Because we have 2 recolorable subsets on this object, we need to add 2 arrays. So we make sure that array is selected in the dropdown. We click add twice. We select the first line, then we add the name of the subset. We do the same thing for the second line, then we commit and save. So in the block list dropdown, then we select the 8, the new block, the second new block that we added. We change the name of this block to TS materials mesh name. Then we make sure that string is selected in the dropdown this time. This time we're adding strings. We add 2 strings. We select the first one. In name, we copy the subset name and paste it. And then in string, here's the tricky part. We copy the name of the CRES. So the underscore and everything after it, that is referencing the TXMT. What we need to reference here is the CRES. So we only copy up to before the underscore, and we paste it here. We do the same thing with the second line. Then we commit and save. And that's it. We're all done with the SimPE method. The Repo Wizard method. To get started, we need to clone the object as we normally would. Repo Wizard can't create a new object. It has to reference an object that's already existed. We would clone a new object, then we would replace the GMDC, and we would update the GID if it's a standalone object in SimPE. Once we're done with that, we close SimPE, we open Repo Wizard. The first thing that we need to do is make sure that it's set up to edit objects. So in the wizard dropdown, we make sure that object is selected. Then in options, make sure that delete local orphans is selected. What this is going to do is basically what we did in SimPE. It's going to delete the TXMT and the TXTR that are no longer referenced by the SHPE. Then we go File, Select Folder. We select the folder that our new object is in. Then in the bottom pane, we click the Select Master, and we select the master object that we want to reference. Then the primary subset, it's going to identify the first subset from the object. We want to point it to the subset in the child object that corresponds to it. We're writing the parent objects sculpture big apple underscore chrome to the child object subset of the same name. Then we do this same thing with the secondary subset. We would select wings in the dropdown there. Once we selected both subsets, we just repository. And it's that easy. Repo Wizard does most of the work for you. Okay, so what we've done, we're in SimPE, we opened subset tutorial sculpture. And as you can see, we've got sculpture Big Apple Chrome, that's the gorilla's body. And then we've got wings. These are basically Synaptic Sims angel wings. I just stuck these on because I thought it would be funny to make a workshop sculpture for this.
Hey, Ghost.
So, hey, welcome, Ghost. What we do to get started, we select the SHPE. Let me do that again. What we do to get started, we select the SHPE in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. Then we copy the subset name. We paste that here. Now for this object, we're going to need all three subsets. Then we paste the material definition name for that subset. Then we move down to eyes. Subset name is eyes. And we just copy and paste the material definition. We do the same for wings. We copy wings. We paste that to our trusty notepad. Then we do the same thing for the material definition. So that's the master object, the parent object. Then we go to Object Workshop. We're going to clone the other two. So we click Start and we let SimPE do its thing. We go to Sculpture. And the one I'm looking for is Apple of the Eye without quotes. Next.
How do I get to Object Workshop?
Should be a tab on the bottom of SimPE.
Oh, thank you.
So select Apple of the Eye. We do Next. And I'm just going to call this Repo Man. This is the object that we're doing in SimPE. And make the price $3.50 so I can find it. Click Finish. Then I update the Scengraph name.
Was this in Deco Sculpture?
Yep, Deco Sculpture, and I believe it's the first or second one that doesn't have quotes in the title.
Bath, food, campfire. Not seeing it. Oh no, sculpture. Okay, here it is. Okay.
Repo Man SimPe.
Woman. For cloning, do I want like all the boxes checked or none of them checked? Like, I have set custom group ID
Let me hold up.
only checked
Let me
because
get back
this
there.
is the Linux MP. Okay,
Set
I
custom
want.
group ID,
Okay,
then fix
pull.
clone files, and the two under it.
Mm-hmm.
Then skip create a doesn't need to be create a standalone object. Then click
Pull only
pull
default
only
color.
default color. Pull wall mask.
Pull.
Doesn't matter because we're not making a window.
Okay.
But if you
And then
are
change.
and you don't have that checked, it's not going to pull the wall mask. Pull
Okay,
string.
thank you.
Okay, we good?
Yes, and then repo Apple 350. Finish. Okay.
Okay. Then we go to the groups tab here, and I just want to get rid of all of these shadow planes. I don't like them. I don't use them that much.
I don't like shadows either.
Then import. This is we want to import the object that says repo man SimPE. We replace sculpture Big Apple Chrome, and then we just add the other two.
Mm.
So we replace the objects and we preview. You can see that the original subset is pulling from the local material. We don't want that. Let's commit our GMDC. Then we go to the SHPE in the resource tree and then in the resource list. And I'm just going to delete all of these nasty shadow ones because I don't like those. Okay, so we're left with sculpture underscore Chrome, but we're not referencing the local TXMT. So we copy the name of the file from here, the name of the TXMT, and we just paste that right over the original TXMT. Now we're referencing the cloned object or the parent object. Then we click add, and I'm going to go ahead and do that twice. Then we go eyes. We rename that subset eyes, and eyes are going to reference eyes from the parent object. So we just copy that TXMT name, we paste it right over here. Then wings, we copy wings, we paste it here. Then we copy the material name, we paste that there. We commit. That's it for the SHPE. We go to TXTR. We just shift select both of those and we delete them. Then we go to TXMT in the resource tree, shift select both resources, right click, and then select delete from the dropdown. So we have no local TXMT or TXTR. Now we need to fix the GMND. So we select the GMND in the resource tree, once again in the resource list. Then in the plugin, we go to the Edit Blocks tab. Then here in the dropdown, we're looking for C data list extension in parentheses. We just bang that add button twice. Commit. Then we go back over to the content tab. there's a subtab down here called C Object Graph Node. We select that. Then we click the Add button over here on this side of the plugin twice. We select the first one. We need to enable that. And then the next one after 6 has to be 7. Same thing here. Enabled. And we change the index to 8. We commit. Then in the drop down, the block list drop down, we select the 7 block, the one that we added. Here we're going to put TS capital D design, capital M mode, capital E enabled. We'll make sure that the drop down is set to array, and we click add twice.
You have 2 A's in there. Is that spelled right for you?
Oh, silly me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then, all we need here is a subset name. So we copy Sculpture Big Apple Chrome. We paste that in the text box for the first array. Then the second array, we make that wings. Those are my 2 recolorable subsets. We commit there. Then we go to the block list dropdown again. This time we select 8. Then TS, capital D design, or no, I'm sorry. Capital M materials, capital M mesh, capital N name. This time in the dropdown, we select string. We add 2 strings. Then first one here, Sculpture Big Apple underscore Chrome. Here's the tricky part. What we're doing here, we're referencing the CRES, not the TXMT. So we copy everything before the underscore. We're not looking for the material. We're looking for the CRES. So in string, we paste the CRES name. Now, because they're pulling from the same object, the CRES name is going to be the same for both. So we go wings, and we can just paste that same CRES name right there. We commit. And we give that a quick save. Now, I forgot one thing. We need to make this a standalone object. So we select the OBJD in the resource tree. Once again, in the resource list. So let's grab the one for SimPE. I mean, it's not like we're going to run out of numbers or something. Now here I checked update all mmats out of habit, but I don't get like why there are no mmats. It's just something that I do out of instinct. Then we click update, we click commit, and we save. And that's it. The SimPE object is done. We go back to Object Workshop. We click Start. Apple of the eye once again. Click Next. Next. Oh, and this is just call that Apple of duh. Repo Man, Repo Wizard. Copy that. Paste it over here. Make that 350. And finish. Rename my Scengraph.
Do you change the fallback GUID?
No.
That was what Ghost had asked.
No, don't need to change the fallback GUID because, for example, if you remove this from your downloads folder, it would it would just default to the original apple sculpture. So say you have this in your game and you delete it for some reason, it needs that fallback to reference. And this is Repo Man, Repo Wizard. Now, there are a couple of things we need to prep. Select the OBJD, once again in the resource list, and then we grab that GID. We'll paste over the GID. Don't really need to update mmats. It's just the way that I do things. And then
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, we save. Then we go to the GMND. Just delete all of those dumb little ground shadows. Then we import. And Repo Man, Repo Wizard. Wings, we add. Eyes, we add. Sculpture, we replace. Give that a quick save. Then we go to the SHPE. And I'm deleting all of these nasty little ground shadow entries so that they don't show up when I try to repo it. And let's add eyes because that's not something that Repo Wizard will pick up. Damn it all. Give that a quick commit. Hey folks, Editing Jason here. So as I did this workshop, the issue that I had with this object, the wings subset was not added to the SHPE. So even though we're going to repository this subset, the line of text in the SHPE Repo Wizard actually needs to be able to reference that. So I had to go back and add it in, and that's what I'm doing here. So we need to add, before we can do anything in the SHPE, we need to add a subset
Wings.
in the SHPE for the Repo Wizard object. So we just, we just add a line, rename that wings. Commit.
And the material definition doesn't matter there?
No, because we're going to
Okay.
fix that using Repo Wizard. Once we've done everything in SimPE, we go to Repo Wizard. And the first thing that we need to do before we open the package, in Wizard, make sure that Object is selected. And then in Options, make sure that Delete Local Orphans is selected. Then we go File, select Folder. And I want Repo Man. Oh, I guess it's asking for the folder. Let's make that a bit bigger. Repo Wizard is the one that we want to mess with. So we select master. Subset tutorial sculpture is our master. Sculpture Big Apple Chrome. Copy that to sculpture Big Apple Chrome. And then wings. Copy that to wings. We click repository. And okay, it automatically saves it. Okay. before we launch that in game, just want one more quick look in SimPE to show you what it did. So we can double check our work. We open RepoMan once again, select the SHPE. Oh, and it didn't remove the ground shadow TXTR. I should have eliminated that when I was still in here. It didn't eliminate them because they're no longer in the SHPE.
Would it have eliminated them if it was left in the SHPE?
Yes, because it will be delete it. The function that I checked, delete local orphans, it would have.
Oh, okay.
So we've got sculpture, Big Apple Chrome. And see, it's referencing the master object here. So we're all good. Now let's have a look at that in game. Okay, so we have the test objects loaded in our game. This is our OG sculpture. I think I have a bounding box issue there. So you can see the OG sculpture, the one that the parent object, it has two different subsets. It is recolorable. And then this is the one that we recolored in SimPE. Let's give him some let's give him some red wings. And then this is the one that we recolored in, or the one that we repositoried using Repo Wizard. And they are both repoed correctly, and they both have working recolors.
So if you took that first gorilla out of the game, then the third one wouldn't have anything to reference. Is that correct?
Right. It would be
okay.
If you got rid of the OG object, yeah, see, you can only grab him by the wings, I think, because he's got a bounding box issue. Might fix that later. If you were to delete this, then both of these would be flashing blue.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's practical if you have like large sets of objects that all depend on the same textures. Like I've made massive sets like modular furniture series 4. I've made all of the midnight app projects. I made my mead hall. I use this same technique. It cuts down on the loading time because it's not loading textures for the entire set. But that's pretty much it.